What if there's something you haven't learned yet that could change everything? Welcome, everyone. I am Sherry Elise. I am a three-time published author and host of the TV show Good Morning Joy. And I am here in partnership with Brave Healer Publishing to introduce you to some of the amazing authors in one of their newest books called The Ultimate Guide to Self-Healing, Volume 6, 25 Home Practices and Tools for Peak Holistic Health and Wellness. And before we kick off, we always kick off with gratitude. And so I want to give a shout out to the lead author, who just so happens to also be the CEO of Brave Healer, Laura DeFranco. I know we all thank Laura so much for putting this community together and putting all of these books out into the world to help us to become our best and most healed selves. In 2020, when their world was pretty much, well, not pretty much, the world was shut down, Laura gathered together 24 other healers to be able to put tools out for everyone. And this is now volume 6 of it. So we are so grateful for you doing that, Laura. Without further ado, I am going to share with you a bit about who is joining me today. I can't wait for you to meet them. First is Caitilin Twain, and she is a national board certified health wellness coach and HeartMath practitioner who helps people resolve pain and illness by reconnecting body, breath, and nervous system through her integrative C.Twain Method. David D. McLeod is a #1 international best-selling author, a master life coach, blending fighter pilot discipline and poetic insight to guide people toward their authentic purpose, inner peace, and lasting fulfillments. And then finally, Melissa Maxwell is a holistic health coach and embodied yoga teacher who guides others through their journey in becoming their own best healer. Welcome, everybody. I'm so excited to be here with you.
Hi,
Yay,
Sherry.
I got
Hi,
highs.
Sherry. Hi.
So first, I want to say thank you to you for writing such beautiful chapters. You know, every time you read one of Laura's books, we don't only walk away with vulnerable stories. Thank you all for sharing those, but we walk away with practices and tools. And so I'm excited to share those with our listeners today. I am going to start with you, Melissa. I would love for you to share with everybody the name of your chapter as well as talk to us a bit about your why behind writing it.
So I'm Melissa, and I wrote chapter 2, Cultivate the Opposite. It's your unique path to restoring your inner harmony. And my why behind this was, well, first off, it was in my story. This was like a huge turning point in my entire life. And it's when I got a diagnosis that was horrific. And they said that I will never be able to be cured and I would suffer. And I had to make a decision of whether I was going to accept that or not. And I stood up for myself and I learned some new skills and I followed the universe guidance. And my why for writing this is so that others can also trust that inner wisdom to follow their path and not just accept what they're told from the outside world.
I love that because I think so many of us are guided by the outside world. And the beautiful thing about self-healing is really about going inwards. And, we're obviously going to get to all of your chapters, but that's what I loved so much was the awareness that each of you brought to us for more self-awareness. You know what I loved about your chapter? Well, first of all, talk about a little bit about the opposites and stuff. That was so new to me, and I loved this idea. I mean, I know about Ayurvedic. Did I say that right, by the way?
Ayurvedic.
Ayurvedic?
It is a tricky word.
No, I
Sanskrit
want to
is
know.
hard, right? Ayurvedic.
Ayurvedic.
Yeah.
Okay.
Long ah.
Okay, got it. Okay. Talk to us a little bit about how that became part of your journey.
So when I became a holistic health coach like a bajillion years ago, I actually learned this much of it. And it is so interesting because when I look back in my binder of notes from that class, all my other notes were like squished in like one section. And then I created this private section for this like 12, 13 years ago. So it was my like inner guidance that led me towards this. And then fast forward to about 4 or 5 years ago, and I decided to deep dive. And I was already a yoga teacher. And so I had been reintroduced, but I really enjoyed the lens of Ayurveda. So it's like literally putting on glasses. And these glasses now show you the world through the elements of nature.
Yeah.
And when you understand the world through the elements of nature, you understand the qualities that everything around you holds. So instead of being like chair, oh, that's actually earth because it's so stable. Instead of
Mm.
like banana, you're like, oh, this is moist. Because it is this fruit that holds liquid and sweetness. And when you understand these concepts in this way, you can then turn that information towards yourself. So instead of inflammation, I'm so inflamed, there's something wrong with me. You're like, hmm, it's really just an excess of fire. And
Mm.
you can look at that and know what's the opposite of fire. Something that's cool, wet, moist, dense, to restabilize your body and calm that fire down.
I love that first, although I did think I was like, what man, I've been looking at life like very gray. It's always just been a banana. Like so I love the light that you have brought to this and the tool itself, which I know people are gonna go read, was so it was so enlightening, like I said, because it felt like this treasure. Like I was just given a roadmap to how to approach when I'm feeling something. So thank you. I'm going to ask you the same question, David. Talk to first, hello, and talk to us a bit about, well, first the name of your chapter and tell us about the why behind writing yours.
My chapter is chapter 12. It's called Windshield in the Weeds, a crash course in self-acceptance. Um, my why has to do with, well, I received an invitation from Laura, and she asked me if I would be willing to participate in this book. I've done lots of chapters with her, and the idea of self-healing, I really don't consider myself an expert on that topic. And so I kind of resisted at first, but she said, "No, you've got lots of great stuff you can share and talk a little bit about self-healing." I said, "All right, I will go back and I'll do some meditating on this." I said, "Is it okay with you if I share a story that I shared in a previous book?" And she said, "Sure, if you think you can come up with something with an appropriate tool that will emanate out of that." So I meditated on it for a while and I decided to rewrite my chapter about this car crash that I was involved in. And and actually there's been a lot more learnings that I've gotten out of it since I first wrote about it.
Hmm.
And so I think I included more of that in this chapter. So it's a little more detailed. But what I have come to realize is that the universe is not done with me yet. There's
Hmm.
plenty of things I have left to do, and I'm not 100% sure what those all are. But I'm now trying to be more open to hearing from the universe rather than just making it up as I go along, which is what's been my modus operandi for the last I don't know how many years. Anyway, um, so the topic of self-acceptance seemed to be like the most important one to bring forth. And I thought, all right, how can I help people develop a practice around self-acceptance? And so that's the whole, I guess, the best way I can describe how this chapter came into being.
Well, first, I want to say it was so well written. Just from a storytelling perspective, I was so there with you in that moment
Oh,
of
thank
that
you.
crash and everything, like just the imagery alone. And I know that this isn't only about storytelling, but it really was. I was like, whoa, like just being, I don't know what I would have walked away with. Well, first of all, congrats on walking away
Yeah.
from that. You guys will have to read it to be able to see what David went through.
Mhm.
But to be able to draw those lessons that you did and just your tools in and of themselves to be able to really look at your life in a completely different way, I think I know is going to be so helpful for everybody. Um, because I mean, well, I'll ask you this question instead of assuming for myself. You know, as you said, like you've already garnered more lessons from it. What do you think about self-acceptance is the thing that people have the hardest time doing? Like, why?
Well, it's interesting. I think, first of all, we live in a society where we are told, we are not explicitly necessarily, but certainly an implicit way, we're told to put the needs and desires of other people ahead of our own. That we're not supposed to be selfish, that we're not to be self-centered or anything like that. Um, I believe we've got it backwards, because part of the problem is, if I'm not focusing on myself and I'm spending all my time focusing on you or of the other people in the world, uh, then I'm giving all my power away. I'm losing myself in the mix, and the quality of the stuff that I'm giving is just not where it should be. So to me, self-acceptance is the most important thing. Self-love, self-acceptance. All of these things are really, really important, because I can't give from an empty cup, as they say. I have to fill up my own cup first. So I think that's why self-acceptance is so important to me. And I've come to the point now where I've reached this point in my life where it's not that I don't care what you think about me, but I don't let what you think about me make decisions for me. I make my own decisions now based on my own calling, my own desires, and so forth. Because that way I know I'm being authentic when I show up. And then when I offer my support to you, it's coming from an authentic place that is full.
Love that. Thank you, David. Caitlin, I'm going to ask you the same question. Talk to us about your chapter, your why behind it, and your name of your chapter.
My chapter's chapter 5. It's called Listen, Learn, and Heal. The subtitle is How Tracking Reconnects You to Yourself. Um, the why is because I was just fed up after 20 years of trying to heal myself with chronic Lyme. I discovered that I had Hashimoto's, and I'd just been a really good patient and a really good student. And I would research, I would listen to the doctors, I would follow what everyone else was advising, and I wasn't getting better. And I just finally had it. I broke. I was like, forget it. From
It
here
was
on
the
out,
kale. Be honest. It was
it
the
was the
kale.
kale. Yeah. So that one was the kale. So when I was reading this article, I was like, oh my gosh, I've been making my thyroid suffer by having way too much kale, because there were literally bumper stickers at the time. I don't know if you guys saw those, like eat more kale, right?
Oh,
And I
yep.
had followed all the fads until they were like, oh, whoops, like I'm 54, so I remember a lot of them, right? And yeah, we just kind of jump on the bandwagon, and then fast forward about 2, 3 years, and you get the maybe not for everyone, maybe, so I just thought, forget it. I'm not playing this game anymore. I'm just need to start listening to my own body. And furthermore, had this very strong suspicion that the pharmaceutical companies, big pharma, big medicine, all of that, kind of wanted us to dependent on this cycle, right? So many of my clients will come to me with 5 prescriptions, 4 of which are to address the side effects of the previous one, right?
Yeah.
Just forget about it, right? Like, we have to jump off this bandwagon. And the way to do that is to literally learn what our own body has to say. We're lucky that these days we have genomics analysis, right? So we can really learn what our own bodies can and cannot do, right? Which just really propels us forward in our ability to heal ourselves. But again, once you learn these bits of information from ourselves, track it. Like, really start to learn what your own body is saying, because there is no greater authority in the room than your own body.
Yeah.
And that's what finally got myself healed. And that is a huge part of what I integrated to my coaching practice.
Well, as I said, all of yours was all about, paying attention, presence to your body, to the awareness around it. And I will have to say, as I read all of yours, I'm like, man, I need to do a lot more research on myself. Like you, and I don't think that I'm alone in that, in terms of David called it data gathering, like just this idea of really understanding, because it is true, the world feeds us so much and we hold on to, or a lot of people hold on to what we're told. But what you gave us in your chapter in ways to be able to do that, and then offering, your own, well, the benefits too. I was like, oh man, this is all stuff that I really need to work on. What is the most thing that you would say that you were surprised for yourself in your own journey that you learned
Um, Hard
with
to
that?
narrow it down to one, right?
Mhm.
But just even just signaling to your body that you're willing to listen to it, you shifting the relationship, right?
Mhm.
Where the body is not on defense anymore. You're creating a collaborative relationship with this, frankly, greater source of wisdom. And then I think I wasn't expecting the accountability piece of it. So if I knew I had to go in and track, did I have wine? Did I exercise? Did I whatever? Once I started learning what was the healthier choice,
Mhm.
it did kind of make me think twice about, okay, how am I going to feel when I go in
Yeah,
and like
you can't be
did
like this
not
anymore.
work out?
Oh, yeah,
Right?
100%. Yeah.
So just like a really, inexpensive accountability buddy in a way. And then I think from my point of view as a coach, the clients who do come to me with prescriptions, when we start setting up conditions for the body to heal itself, they don't need the dosages or even sometimes some of the actually they can drop taking some of those drugs, but I need them to go into the doctors with hard data,
Yeah.
like actual data. This is what my blood pressure has been. This is, I've been tracking my whatever, because it's a lot easier for the doctor to work with that.
Right.
And it helps us really prevent any problems, right? I mean, I learned that the hard way. So
Hmm.
I teach people ways to reduce their blood pressure. Uh, One student wasn't taking me very seriously. I wasn't pushing it, and he started fainting because so
Yeah.
that's when I was like, oh, I really have to insist people track and get into
Right.
the doctors in
Yeah.
time. Yeah.
And of course, knowledge is power, as we know. Yes. So
Right.
I'll stick with you for right now with this question. Obviously, Laura's books and all of these are about holistic healing. I'm curious from your perspective, why do you think the holistic part is important in healing?
Oh, because the body is an entirely integrated system of body, mind, heart. So, I mean, I teach nervous system regulation, right? I teach breath work. I teach movement, listening to the body to find proper nutrition for it. There's no one piece of that I could say is more important than the other. It really is, yeah, it has to be entirely holistic and integrated for it to work.
Yeah.
I have never seen it work otherwise.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Melissa, I will ask you the same question. Why is holistic important in healing?
So, as someone who has seen both sides of this, I was a personal trainer for 20 years and
Mhm.
definitely very on the workout. That's what you need. That's all you need front. And then quickly turned into the nutrition person. Oh,
Uh-huh.
food is more important. And, in the past decade, my view has expanded. And, like Caitlin said, all of our pieces have to be integrated. If you are focusing only on the physical body and not the mind, then you are completely missing an entire area of digestion that you are going to be paying for later. If you don't digest your thoughts and perceptions, that's half of what you need to digest. If you don't attend to your spirit, you will end up feeling lost in this world. So it's just, we have to look at ourselves as everything is connected, just like the systems in our body are connected, the heart, the circulatory system, the digestion, the liver, like everything is connected within us and showing us. So we have to see ourselves that way instead of these compartments.
Yeah. And I know I'm asking this question and it could seem so obvious, but I know that there are people out there that, may only know one way. So these are really insightful. David, what about for you?
Well, I think I don't really have a whole lot more to add to
Hmm.
what both Melissa and Caitlin said. I think my perspective might be a little different.
Hmm.
Um, I noticed that Caitlin used the same terminology that I use. I believe that we are holistic beings, heart, body, mind, and soul. And I separate the heart from the body because the heart has its own regulatory system, just like the mind does. And of course, our soul is something that is kind of ethereal and abstract. And so many people think that's just a woo-woo thing, you know? Um, but I do believe that when we can tap into our spiritual nature, then we become more connected not only to ourselves in wholeness, but also to other people. And we begin to understand that my level of health, my level of healthiness impacts the healthiness of the world and the universe at large. So it's not just me. You know, if the four of us here in this place can do things to improve our health individually, then we are contributing to a healthier environment for everybody else to be in. And they may not even realize it.
Mhm.
So that I think that's why it's so important. It's way more important than we even give it credit for. So
Yeah, no, you did have a totally different perspective, by the way. So, and what I think is so important in saying that is that there isn't in healing a one size fits all. So, what works for you may not work for somebody else. So,
right.
being able to, and what these books do, offer all of these modalities, people have this amazing option to be
Mm-hmm.
able to choose what works for them. David, if you could leave people with something today, what would you say is the most important thing that you would want them to know about this journey to self-acceptance?
My belief is actually I've formulated it into a pretty simple sentence nowadays. There is nothing that is more important than knowing, embracing, expressing, and experiencing the full truth of who you really are. Everything I do now is focused on that one concept. Um, there, in any given moment, you may imagine that there's something else that's more important, but the real truth is, if it doesn't emanate out of that knowingness of who you really are, then it's probably a false path.
Mm.
It's you have to connect who you really are to pretty much everything you do, and then health and fitness and all the rest of it just seem to happen magically.
Do you think that we ever get there to really fully knowing who we are?
Well, I maybe I don't know the answer to that question.
Yeah,
I certainly haven't reached that point.
either. That's why I asked.
My belief is it's like the idea of enlightenment. You know, are there people who have achieved enlightenment as a final state? I don't think so. I don't think so. Even the most enlightened people that we know about, you know, the Jesus, the Buddha, the other people like that who have achieved a high level of enlightenment, they themselves said, I know nothing. There's so much more, you
Yeah.
know? So I think the answer to your question is no, but I can't say that definitively because there may be an end state where you do know the full truth of who you really are.
I love it. And that's what makes life exciting. And
Yeah.
then also really feeds into all of us overachievers. We just have to keep figuring it out. Thank you, David. Caitlin, talk to me about what you want the most people to know, the most important thing about how tracking reconnects us to ourselves.
Um, I actually I'm called to read to you this little thing that's up over my desk all
Mhm.
the time because it also ties in a little bit to what David was just saying. It says energy to heal comes from willpower and is fueled by love. Your energy towards self-care benefits the world. So there's that willpower fueled by love is very, very important because tracking, one of the things I wrote about at length in the chapter is that tracking can really have a shadow side. The overachievers, people are even like
Mhm.
competing against their scores, whatever. This can become, frankly, a source of darkness, right? It really needs to be fueled from self-compassion, from love, from curiosity, from cooperation with your body. And when we achieve health and when we achieve a regulated nervous system, absolutely, we can say measurably, there are scientists at HeartMath Institute who are measuring this, we benefit those around us. Anyone who comes in contact with a regulated nervous system immediately starts
Mm.
getting more regulated themselves. It's not woo-woo. I know it sounds crazy, but I'm definitely a science geek. I want to be rooted in science, and it's very exciting to me that there is research coming out now, kind of confirming the woo. Right?
Woo woo.
Yeah, exactly. So, what David said, 100%, literally, we're starting to prove it. When we heal ourselves, we heal those around us. And yeah, just do it. Go in, dive in, and heal yourself with love. Your body is not fighting against you. It's just sending you signals. Listen to them, learn from them, and everyone around you benefits.
I
Beautiful.
love that. And I know that you said about previously, like all of your chapters are connected. Even as you just talked about shadow work, I immediately was like, David does
Yeah.
shadow work stuff. So it's this beautiful, yeah, this beautiful chemistry between all y'all. Southern, I'm Southern suddenly. Melissa, tell me, what is the most important thing that you want people to know about being able to restore inner harmony?
Hmm. Well, I mean, I can just feed off of everyone here, right?
Mhm.
I mean, with David, we have to learn to accept ourselves, welcome ourselves in this moment right here, and not be attached to some version of ourselves that we are trying to get back to. I think that is a really important piece, or hyper focus on some version of ourselves that we're trying to get to, that striving to this thing that doesn't exist.
Mhm.
And then with Caitlin and the nervous system regulation, I think that is really important to bring yourself into a calm state so that you can be aware from a place of compassion and not hypervigilance or fixing or whatever that is. And then you're able to step into cultivating the opposite and think clearly enough, okay, what am I actually feeling? And what is my body telling me that I need? And then you can go from there. From what I need, then I can give myself, oh, I really just needed a warm beverage. I really just needed a hug. I really just needed to go outside and look at the trees. I really just needed a nap. It's so many great things. And then you can come back to that inner harmony. When you come back to your inner harmony and have that clarity, then you can actually touch on that piece of your purest self. And that is the entirety of Ayurveda, is getting back to that original nature, which you will never get back to, but you will spend your lifetime unwinding all of the things that our life has put on us, trying to get back to there. And not as an end goal, but really so that we can touch that sweetness of who we really are.
Oof, well, I feel like I have nothing else to say. You just wrapped it up beautifully for us and connected all of you all together. I just want to say thank you three for giving us tools to be able to better ourselves, to live a more peaceful life, to love ourselves more, to be able to just create a life for ourselves that feels empowered. And then wherever that journey takes us, that we're open to it. And then we get to spread our good energy and our regulated nervous systems to each other. So, is there any final words that anyone is dying to say? I want to give you the spotlight. Anybody?
I just
All
want
right.
to say thank
Yeah.
you for hosting.
Oh, thank you,
Yeah.
David. I appreciate that. I actually, well, I love this because I don't want to say forces, but it did to read and really be able to gain insight from the three of you. So I genuinely appreciate that so much. Um, Anybody else before we?
Thank you. This has been a pleasure. Been very nice to meet you.
Same here. Thank you. Now it's like weird. I'm like, I'm waiting for a thank you, Melissa. Just kidding.
I mean, Sherry, your questions were wonderful and
Uh,
so insightful. Thank you for reading our chapters too and really being able to dive deep with us.
Yeah, of course. I feel silly now. Like I wasn't forcing that, by the way. Okay. So again, thank you all so much for being here, sharing your wisdom with everyone. And to our listeners, As you can see, this is way more than just a book. This is a generous community who is here for you to answer any questions that you might have, to carry on a conversation like this, to support you on your journey. So, if anything resonated with you today, make sure you go down to the show notes because we've provided all of the authors' links and explore with them. They are happy, I'm sure, to connect and share with you what they have going on. And of course, we hope that you hop on over to Amazon and grab a copy of this amazing book today. The link is also below. And then lastly, everyone in the Brave Healer community wants you to know and to remember that your words will change the world when you're brave enough to share them. And it's time to be brave. We'll see you next time, everybody. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.